Good morning. Welcome back. It's Friday Coffee Talks, episode 126. I'm your host, Connor Volpe, and we are here talking over coffee on Friday. I skipped the coffee today. I went straight for the big stuff, the big guns. Orange Dreamsicle Rain. This is one of my favorites.
Oh,
I am solo dadding this week. Mandy and Fallon are on their big trip to New York, which was Fallon's big Christmas gift. They're having a blast. I am a little more stressed than normal, a little more tired. The bags are a little deeper, but we're living, we're surviving. We made it. We've eaten good. We've had a little fun, me and Parker and Savannah. It's been hectic, but everybody got where they're supposed to be on time. I haven't let anything go through the cracks. I even cleaned the kitchen this morning. So, yeah, we're surviving. Most folks, most shows, I'm sure you've been reading, watching, listening to year-end recaps over the last few weeks. Most shows do that toward the end of the year. That like week around Christmas, New Year's, all that kind of stuff is time for year-end wrap-ups. But around here at Friday Coffee Talks, we do things differently. No, I'm just busy and got tied up and didn't get able to do a 2023 recap. So, in honor of that, January 5th, today, 2024, we're getting a 2023 recap. That's right. Today's episode, I'm going to go through the 23 things that made 2023 2023. Is that enough 23s for you? I've got a great list. I've been researching this for a while. I've been prepping for this episode for a couple weeks now, and I'm really looking forward to it. So, let's jump right in. Let's get into these 23 things that made the year 2023. All right, there we go. We are in presentation mode. This is as close as I will ever get to being Seth Meyers or Colin Jost or Norm Macdonald and hosting Weekend Update. I'm not an SNL guy, but I like to play pretend for one. So this is my Colin Jost position. Here we go. So the list for 2023, we'll kick it off with an easy one. Threads. Anybody remember that? There was like a week in 2023 where everybody was about Threads. It was Meta and Facebook and Instagram's answer to Twitter. I liked it. I like the format. I still have an account. I think everybody created one that week. It got wild. People were all in on Threads, and then they were all out on Threads. It was dubbed the Twitter killer, and it did not. We'll get to Twitter in a little bit, but Threads was number one. The next thing on my list is one that Mandy told me to leave off, but it's just so funny to me that I can't do it. The next one on the list, number 22, is Ron DeSantis' lifts. I can't get enough of this story. Ron, come on, buddy. It's very painfully obvious that you're wearing lifts at all your events. I get it. I'm 5'8". Do I wish I was 6'2"? 1,000,000%. Yes, absolutely. But don't wear lifts, especially as ones as bad as these. Your toes of your boots are curled up like elf shoes. It's very obvious there's no foot in there. So just be yourself. Stop wearing lifts. You look like an idiot. I got my list right here. Let me consult. Number 21 is Michigan sign stealing. This was probably the story of the year. They could be national champions. We're still a few days away from the game, but it could be national champions, and they're under investigation for sign stealing. This whole thing is wild. There was some staffer that was flying around and paying people to record opposing teams' sidelines so they could steal their signs. I mean, if you got to cheat to win, like, is it really worth it? I guarantee if they win the national championship, people will put an asterisk by it that they cheated and all this kind of stuff. Who knows if they actually did? Who knows how effective their sign stealing was? But to do this whole operation, you got Harbaugh getting suspended and all this kind of stuff. It's just wild. I mean, one of those stories you're like, what is going on? Why would they do that? That was one of the big ones for me. The next one is Wednesday. I think this show actually came out in 2022. I don't know. We didn't watch it, but people were obsessed with it. Wednesday was like everywhere for a while. A ton of people dressing as Wednesday for Halloween. Of course, this is Wednesday Addams. Jenna Ortega she did great in the role, I think. Everybody always talked about how awesome she was. Heard a lot of stories about how she didn't blink. And it was like a whole thing that when they were filming, they had to make her not blink. Anyways, everybody was talking about Wednesday for a while. It kind of took over everything. Wednesday was big. Moving on, number 19 is the MGM hack. This one was bigger for me, I think, because I'm in IT, and this is kind of like the IT guy's worst nightmare. I don't deal in cybersecurity, but if you remember, Caesars Palace and MGM were both hacked. Caesars immediately paid up like $30 million or something, and they were free and clear out of it. MGM said, no, we're not going to pay you. And they got the shaft. I don't even know if they're still up. There was at least a week, if not a couple weeks, that everything at the MGM family of hotels in Las Vegas was down. You couldn't check into rooms. You couldn't play video poker games. Any kind of slot machines are all down. Every machine in the casino looked like this. You have, it just says temporary unavailable. Like I can't imagine walking into a Vegas casino and seeing that. The restaurants didn't work. Everything was locked out and it was a nightmare. So, yeah. What's next? We have number 18, girl dinner. This was one of the phrases of 2023. If I'm being honest, I still don't fully understand what it is, but apparently what has been told to me is girl dinner is just kind of piecing together a meal with whatever you can find. A lot of it tends to look like charcuterie boards, I guess, but some raisins here or some yogurt there or some meat out of the fridge. Some of the kids' graham crackers, I guess. It's just kind of grabbing what you can, not doing like a whole lot of cooking, not making an entree and a side dish and all that kind of stuff, but just kind of piecing together little snacks. I guess. I don't know. Number 17 is the banking industry as a whole in 2023. We saw the collapse of Silicon Valley Bank, which kind of kicked things off. And then you had the collapse of First Republic Bank. You had the collapse of a company called FTX. And that was a little bit different because it was caused by this guy, Sam Bankman-Fried, their CEO. He was a darling of the industry. He had this massively successful startup with FTX. He was incredibly wealthy. He was doing billions on his exchange. And then we found out that it was all fake. He was a fraudster. He was creating fake transactions. He was embezzling. He was doing all kinds of stuff. The book has been thrown at him. He's in prison, probably will be for a very long time. But the damage that he did to the banking industry had ripples. I think we saw 5 major banks go under in 2023, which is more than we've had in a very long time. A lot of people thought that the economy was on the verge of collapse with a potential recession and all this kind of stuff going on. So what a wild year in the banking industry, all kind of started by the collapse of Silicon Valley Bank. 2023, number 16, was the rise of the mega contract in sports. These two kind of led the way with Ohtani and Messi. Lionel Messi coming over from European soccer to play in the MLS. He was given an ownership stake in the Miami team that he plays for. I believe he also got part of the MLS broadcast rights on Apple TV as part of it as well. I mean, his contract was weird. I don't know all the details. I don't think they've all been released, but to convince the best soccer player in the world to come to MLS was a coup for MLS. And we've got Messi playing in America now, which is pretty cool. Shohei Ohtani's contract in Major League Baseball just a couple weeks ago with the Dodgers was a new standard setter. We all knew that Ohtani was going to get a massive contract, obviously. But $700 million over 10 years. He signed with the Dodgers, which nobody was happy about. It's like, oh my gosh, the Dodgers again. But I think the craziest thing about Ohtani's contract is that he deferred so much of it. $68 million a year deferred for 10 years. So I think the math works out. He's going to be like 50 years old or 48, something like that. Still getting paid $68 million a year by the Dodgers, and he most likely will not even be playing baseball anymore, which is wild. But in other sports contracts, you saw Live Golf pull Jon Rahm away. Finally, you saw the PGA. I probably should have made this its own thing, but after years of bickering and fighting and going head to head, the PGA Tour and Live Golf, the Saudi private investment fund, they merged. They announced out of nowhere they're merging. Like, what? And you see these mega contracts going out to these PGA players. I think Jon Rahm got $300 million to go to Live. We've just in the last couple of days, we've seen Rory McIlroy kind of backing off his statements about Live. So it wouldn't surprise me if Rory McIlroy ends up getting a mega contract here pretty soon. So just the money that is flowing through sports in 2023 was astronomical. And I don't think we'll see it slow down anytime soon. Golf was a big one, but you also saw Saudis pulling the biggest soccer stars in the world to the Saudi League. Ronaldo went over for a crazy amount of money. I believe there's a handful of others that went to play soccer in Saudi Arabia for an insane amount of money. So we'll just see these contracts get bigger and bigger and bigger. Number 15, moving on to something a little lighthearted, Lil Boothang. My goodness. This guy had one song and he was on my Spotify Wrapped because we listened to it so much. My baby Savannah loves this song. I think this was my top song in 2023, if I'm not mistaken. Paul Russell, he took over the world. I mean, he was everywhere. The initial video for this song, it went viral on TikTok and Instagram Reels. Like, everybody was using it. You heard it everywhere. He made the video in his apartment. He'd like attached a camera to the ceiling fan and was spinning around him. He made all these videos. I don't know if it was marketing, if it was real or not, but he made videos for weeks when the song initially went viral that he was fighting his record label to be able to release the song. They wouldn't let him yet, blah, 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 blah. And he finally did. And then it went even bigger. So whatever he did it right. And this became one of the biggest songs of 2023. It was everywhere. Every single time we got in the car, Savannah said, play Lil Boothang. She listened to it so many times. It's a great song. It's very catchy, but I've listened to it so much. Number 14. I don't know why this isn't higher on the list. It probably should be, but anybody remember the Chinese spy balloon? That was gripped the nation for weeks, probably 2 weeks or so. There's all this stuff just flying over the country. What in the world? This was the big one. This Chinese spy balloon. We watched it traverse the entire country. And it was this whole thing of shoot it down. No, we can't shoot it down because we don't know what's on it. It could be a nuke. Nobody knew. All this crazy stuff. People with BB guns in their backyards trying to shoot down this Chinese spy balloon. It was big. It had solar panels, like all this craziness. But finally it got away from land and they shut it down over the coast of North Carolina, I believe. It turned out to be a lot of technology, a lot of spy stuff, but no bombs, luckily. Did fly over some military bases. A lot of people were very upset about that. But then after that one, there were like two more, like right back to back. I think one of them got shot down over Canada, and I think the other one was in Alaska. Spy balloons. What in the world? Who knew? That was wild. I told you I'd come back to Twitter. Number 13 is Twitter, or X. I still don't know what to say for Twitter. Elon Musk made the purchase. I believe that was before 2023, but it's been a weird year for Twitter. Elon Musk rebranded it. Under the darkness of night, he's out there with his ratchet and pulled the Twitter logo down and put up a giant X. Decided he was going to rebrand it to X. Still don't quite know what he's doing. Seems like Elon is kind of trying to just Twitter. I don't tweet much. I really use it for like sports news and things like that, but I don't ever know what to say. Like, oh, they posted on X? That still doesn't seem right. Every news article you read now that is quoting something from Twitter, they go, X so-and-so posted on X, formerly known as Twitter. He's not going to get rid of Twitter. Do you call it Xing? Is it tweeting? The website is still Twitter. Like, I still don't understand what's going on with that, but what a weird year to take something as ubiquitous as Twitter, buy it for gazillions of dollars, and then seemingly push it off a cliff. Elon, he's a smarter businessman than I am, I guess, but it's just odd, I think. Number 12, speaking of business and drama, number 12 is ChatGPT. ChatGPT is everywhere. I think the initial launch was back in 2022. I'm getting all this stuff mixed up. A year seems like a long time. It may have been all in 2023, but the initial launch of ChatGPT was astronomical. I want to say it had the biggest launch of all time that I believe, going back, Threads ended up beating it on a single day or the quickest time to 1 million users, something like that. But at the time when ChatGPT launched, it blew everybody out of the water. It took over the world. Everybody was talking about ChatGPT. This has been the year of AI for sure. ChatGPT kind of became the face of that with, language learning models, doing prompts, having everything automated by AI. ChatGPT was the entrance into that. And since then, there's been tons more. Midjourney and everybody kind of getting in on that train. But ChatGPT is the OG. A lot of people use it for everything. Then toward the weird middle of this year, you had drama with its parent company. So the parent company was OpenAI. You had their CEO, Sam Altman, get ousted by the board, but then the entire team left. They stood with him. That speaks to the loyalty of the company, speaks a lot about Sam Altman, I think, and what he's built at OpenAI. All of the developers, everybody that was important to OpenAI said, if he's gone, we're gone. And then the board said, like, yeah, maybe we shouldn't. So he was ousted for like 3 days, and then he came back, and then a bunch of the board members were ousted. Who knows what's going on at OpenAI, but ChatGPT and the news surrounding their company's leadership was definitely one of the biggest stories of 2023. Number 10, we're almost to the top 10. No, I'm sorry. Number 11 was the death of Queen Elizabeth, RIP. Queen Elizabeth, Queen Victoria. I always get this bad. I always mix them up. It was Elizabeth. Queen Elizabeth passed away. She was very old. I think she was like 99 or something like that. She'd been the queen for like 70 years or something, which is incredible. But this year we also saw the coronation of King Charles. It was wild. It was one of those things that you kind of have to just pay attention to because British royalty getting crowned and all the fanfare and the ceremony. It was incredible to watch. So King Charles's coronation was definitely one of the biggest stories of 2023. All right, we're into the top 10. Are you ready? Number 10 was chaos surrounding Congress. My goodness. We had the ouster of the Speaker of the House, which has never happened before. Kevin McCarthy got voted out. We had the nonsense with George Santos. Like, what in the world? Dude got elected to Congress on a resume that was completely false. He was embezzling campaign funds. He lied about like his whole life, which is just so bizarre to me. And then was ejected from Congress, which is, I also believe, the first time that's ever happened. It was crazy. You also had like the right flank, the very small number of Republican Congress people that kind of like ran stuff. They were the ones that ended up kicking out Kevin McCarthy. The situation surrounding getting a new Speaker of the House was crazy. The rest of the world was looking at the U.S. going, what are you idiots doing over there? It took them weeks to even find a candidate that they could run for Speaker of the House. They had millions of votes, probably, at least not millions, but like tens of votes to see if they could get the numbers they needed to. And they failed and failed and failed and failed. And you got Congress just locked in session trying to get something done. Budget stuff hanging over, government shutdowns looming, agreements and negotiations and all this, the crazy stuff. The United States Congress was wild. The one thing I do want to mention about Congress this year, which was a bright spot for me, was Representative Jeff Jackson out of North Carolina. I don't know if you follow him on social media, but what a refreshing take on politics. He became famous on TikTok and Instagram because he would just lay out situations. It wasn't partisan. It wasn't accusatory. It wasn't inflammatory, which is a big thing. It was just informational. He made these videos where he talked to the American people, just very straightforward, him and a camera. He talked about situations. He gave everybody updates on what was happening in different situations with bills passing and his learnings as a junior congressman. He eventually his district was drawn out, but what a great thing that happened in 2023 for Jeff Jackson to become a big player in the future of American politics. He was awesome. Next page. Number 9, celebrity deaths. This was a sad one. A lot of surprising deaths this year, perhaps none bigger than Matthew Perry. Friends was one of the biggest TV shows of all time. It was iconic for my generation and probably the generation before me. It was one of those that was back before DVRs were a thing. So when Friends came on, you had to be sitting at your table, on your couch. You had to watch it. Chandler Bing was one of the greatest characters of all time. And Matthew Perry had been through a lot in his life, and to see him taken from us so soon was heartbreaking. The other one that was very shocking to me was more recent, Andre Braugher. If you're a fan of Brooklyn Nine-Nine, he was Captain Holt in Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Very young. I think he was like 52. Just can't believe, just kind of out of nowhere, Andre Braugher died. But Pee Wee Herman, Jimmy Buffett, Suzanne Summers, Tina Turner, Paul Rubens. I said Pee Wee Herman, Paul Rubens. Oh my gosh. That's one of those things where you just become synonymous with a character. It's wild. Just heartbreaking deaths. We lose people every year, and that's terrible. But a lot of surprising celebrity deaths this year. Number 8, speaking of entertainment, we had strikes. There were a lot of strikes this year, and it really, especially in the entertainment industry, defined the year, I think. You had the big one was SAG, the Screen Actors Guild, went on strike. You had the Directors Guild, the Writers Guild, all go on strike together. So it ended up impacting not only movies, but television throughout the summer. We had a long period with no live TV, no talk shows, no new shows coming out. So, now that we're in the winter, you're seeing the impacts of that with seasons being delayed or, shows that we really like not coming back, movies being pushed back, all the schedules being affected. Very happy to say that the strikes are over. SAG got what they wanted. The Writers Guild got what they wanted. The auto workers, I think, are still on strike. I'm not totally sure. But the year of the strike, I mean, what an impact that strikes had on the year. It was pretty wild. Number 7, I can't believe this isn't higher on the list, but just kind of given the way things are, number 7 was the indictment of former President Donald Trump. This is one of those things that, like, it doesn't even feel real to just look at this picture. I mean, look at these two, this one and that one. It's not hard to see why they're there, but to see the mugshot of a former president was just one of those weird things. Like, and to know that it happened just down the street in Atlanta was weird. But all the craziness going on with Trump, under investigation for a lot of misdoings, wrongdoings, a lot of fraud, lots of lies, lots of craziness. I'm not going to get into the politics of that. A lot of conspiracy theories around, it's a witch hunt and he didn't do anything wrong. I mean, I think it's pretty plain to see he did a lot of things wrong. Whether they can make it stick and these indictments go through and he gets convicted of anything, that's another story. I have no idea. But to be in a year where a former president gets indicted and has a mugshot taken is just weird to me. Like, I never thought that I would see a president with a mugshot. It was very odd. Going back to entertainment, number 6 is Barbenheimer. This was a phenomenon. And it was really interesting too to see, like, if you don't know, Barbenheimer was the name that was given to the release of 2 movies that released on the same day, Barbie and Oppenheimer. And the movies couldn't be any more different. It turned into this crazy debate about which one you were going to go see. And it seems like most people went and saw both because they both were wildly successful. Oppenheimer was a Nolan movie starring Cillian Murphy and a bunch of really big names, huge cast, but it was about Oppenheimer, who created the nuclear bomb. It was a drama. It was very serious, very gritty. And then on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, you had Barbie, directed by Greta Gerwig. You had Margot Robbie as Barbie. You had Ryan Gosling as Ken, and big cast of really funny people. Barbie had a lot of controversy around it because people were like, why would you cast Ryan Gosling as Ken? Like skepticism around if it was going to be good or not. People were like, I don't know if Greta Gerwig is going to make a good movie. And then it turned out to be just like this iconic movie about feminism. Ryan Gosling was an excellent Ken. I don't think anybody had any doubts about Margot Robbie being Barbie, but she was great. The movie was great. It turned out awesome. It was great. But the juxtaposition of Barbie with Oppenheimer releasing on the same weekend, it created this frenzy, and it probably helped market both movies. Honestly, the impact, though, of the strike, it was a little weird. Like, with the strikes happening, it was right about the release of those 2 movies. So none of the actors were promoting them, which I think also kind of gave a level of mystique about the movies. I don't know. It was just a whirlwind of craziness, but we were given in 2023 Barbenheimer. All right, we're into the top 5. Number 5 was Damar Hamlin. I bet you didn't know that was in 2023. You probably thought it was in 2022, but it was actually the second day, January 2nd, 2023, when Damar Hamlin, a safety for the Buffalo Bills, collapsed on the field, went into cardiac arrest, and was revived via CPR on the field in Cincinnati. It's something we've never seen in National Football League history. It was crazy, and it gripped the nation. I mean, I don't know that I've ever seen a situation. Well, that's not true. I'm exaggerating, but in sports, I guess I've never seen a situation that just got people sucked in so quickly. I mean, to go from, playing a game, there's an NFL game going on that a lot of people were watching. It was a Monday night game, if I remember correctly. Um, had a lot of people viewing it, but then it spread. It was all over social media, people praying for Damar Hamlin for the Bills. And then the coverage that night was wild. The game obviously stopped. They took him to the hospital. Newscasters just outside the hospital trying to figure out what was going on. Speculation about what happened, what was wrong, if he got hit incorrectly, safety stuff. But then to see him not only live, which was wild, but come back and play in the NFL this season was outstanding. They raised so much money for his foundation. His little heart motion that he does was crazy. So Damar Hamlin, one of the biggest stories of 2023. One of the greatest things that I like about this is that it unified the country. Everybody, there's no people who were anti Damar Hamlin. Oh, I wish he died. Like nobody said anything like that. It was one of those things where everybody could kind of get together and say like, we're praying for Damar Hamlin. We want him to get better. We want safety to get better throughout the NFL. So that was a great heartwarming story in 2023. Number 4 was the rise of wonderful TV. We were treated to a great year of TV. A lot of these shows, Succession, Fargo, The Last of Us, Ted Lasso had its finale, the premiere of a show called Shrinking on Apple TV, which was wonderful. These shows, The Bear. Oh my gosh, The Bear. How can I not mention The Bear? We were treated before the strike to some wonderful, wonderful TV. I'll be honest, I don't watch Fargo. I don't watch Succession. I haven't watched The Last of Us yet, but all 3 of those were massive, massive TV shows. Everybody was talking about them. Succession may be one of those that gets talked about for years and years to come. I've heard it's really good. The Last of Us was groundbreaking. It was one of those shows that, again, was maybe a little skeptical about it. Like, you're making a game, show after this video game. But Pedro Pascal was great. I heard a lot of great things about Nick Offerman's cameo in the first season. But these other shows that I do watch, Shrinking was phenomenal. Jason Segel is one of my favorite actors, and he was absolutely perfect. He was at his peak acting in Shrinking. He's a widowed dad who is a therapist and trying to kind of navigate life without his wife. Wonderful, wonderful show. Harrison Ford is his like crotchety boss, and he's great. Shrinking was awesome. Ted Lasso. I've talked about Ted Lasso a billion times on here, but one of my favorite shows of all time. We saw the final season. The finale was great. We kind of wrapped up the whole story of Ted Lasso, which was awesome. But the one that I want to mention here is The Bear. The Bear was the show of 2023 for me. Again, you may disagree with me, but I haven't watched some of the ones that you would probably think are. The Bear treated us back to back to 2 of the best episodes of television, not just of 2023, but ever. Some of the most incredibly written, produced, filmed, acted shows, episodes of TV ever. And I'm talking, of course, about Fishes followed by Forks in season 2 of The Bear. If you haven't watched The Bear, definitely go catch up. Season 1 was phenomenal, but season 2 was just incredible. The frenetic energy of Fishes. It was chaotic. It was loud. It was just all over the place. The cameos were wonderful. Jamie Lee Curtis was so good. She deserves all the Emmys. John Mulaney showing up. You had people coming back. You had, oh my gosh, who's the guy that was Better Call Saul? Him in it, like this episode where you kind of got the backstory of why these characters are who they are in Fishes and in season 2, followed by Forks, which if I had to pick one, it's Forks. The most amazing character development I've ever seen in a television show, to completely flip the script on a character and have them be so, it was incredible. I don't want to talk too much about it because it was phenomenal. If you haven't watched season 2 of The Bear, if you haven't watched The Bear, go watch The Bear. Season 2, though, the episodes Fishes and Forks were incredible. Just can't even say enough good things about them. Moving on into the top 3. Number 3, the Titan Submersible. My goodness, I've never seen something but go from tragedy to meme so fast. Obviously, the very heartbreaking thing that we lost, I think it was like 5 people in the Titan Submersible. They went down in like a tin can, a homemade submersible to go visit the site of the Titanic. And it imploded. But there was like a week where we thought these people were alive under the ocean, disconnected from life support, and we were hunting for this Titan submersible. The military, you had all these crazy ships going to try to find this thing. It was incredible, and people were captivated. Obviously we found out the bad news at the end of that they were all killed and that the thing imploded. Catastrophic implosion, I think is what they said. But just people just glued to the news trying to figure out what was going on with the Titan submersible. It was crazy. One of the iconic stories of 2023. Number 2, all things Kelce. This was the year of the Kelce. My goodness. Let me list them off. I have them here. The Brother Bowl, Donna Kelce, New Heights podcast, Kylie Kelce, and Travis. We had the Chiefs versus the Eagles in the Super Bowl this year, the first time that brothers have paired off head-to-head in the Super Bowl, with the Chiefs coming out on top. You had the release, the coronation, going back to coronation of Donna Kelce as the rightful queen of the NFL. She took over media during that Super Bowl run-up. She was everywhere. She's the parents of Jason and Travis Kelce, and she is iconic. She has her split jersey. It's Chiefs and Eagles. There was a line from her when they were asking her, like, which team are you going to cheer for? And she said the offense. I love that so much. Her son Jason is a center for the Eagles, and her son Travis is a tight end for the Chiefs. And so she said the offense. That's just the cutest thing. I love it so much. The New Heights podcast, which is Jason and Travis's podcast, became one of the biggest in the country. I think it's the most listened to sports podcast out there, which is wild. But through New Heights, we were given Queen Kylie Kelce. I think Mandy loves Kylie more than me. Anytime she shows up on the podcast, Mandy loves her. She is hilarious. She's great. So we were introduced to her. We had the release of the Kelce documentary on Amazon Prime, which was incredibly well done, chronicling what was thought at the time to be Jason Kelce's last season in the NFL. He ended up coming back, playing this year, but that documentary was awesome. And then Travis, his life was changed by 10 little numbers on a friendship bracelet, shooting his shot. What a year for the Kelces. Everything Kelce. Travis went from being a great NFL tight end, a Hall of Famer, one of the best to ever do it, to a mega star on and off the field. 2023, the year of the Kelce for sure. So what's the last thing? What's the biggest story? What made 2023? Well, I think this should actually look more like this. That's right. You had to know. Could it be anybody else than Taylor Swift? The number one thing that made 2023 what it was Taylor Swift. You had the Eras Tour. You had her relationship with Travis Kelce. You had her making bazillions of dollars everywhere she went, shutting down cities, booking every hotel room, gifting millions of dollars to her truckers around the world. The Eras Tour made like $90 billion or some insane amount of money. You had people who were not Taylor Swift fans going to the concert and being just captivated. It was wild. I haven't heard, we did watch the movie. We didn't get to go to the show, but I've heard it was one of the greatest concerts of all time. She did something like 43 songs in her set list, which is just insane. So Taylor Swift, the story of the year, America's sweetheart. It was great. I think the way that she marketed everything was crazy. You know, you had the concert, which was on its own right, wild. And then she released it as a movie, and you had people making an event just like the concert out of the movie. You had little girls dancing at the front of the theater and singing along. I mean, that's crazy. And now streaming at home, the concert. I mean, what a way to capitalize. I think she released 2 more albums of Taylor's version. So she's going back and re-recording her masters on all of her albums. So we had Taylor's version of a couple of new albums come out this year. I mean, it's wild. Mandy and I have had this talk a couple times about what does she do next? What does she do to top this? I don't know. Maybe 2024, her and Travis get married. I'd love it. Their love story kind of captivated the nation. It's everywhere. People joking that Taylor Swift made Travis Kelce a star. He was kind of a star before, but when she showed up at her first NFL game for the Chiefs, sitting in the suite next to his parents, Oh my gosh, people went crazy. There was a few weeks during this NFL season where she was getting more coverage than the Chiefs were, which is wild. A play would happen that Travis wasn't even on the field for, and they'd cut to Taylor Swift sitting in the box. It was awesome. Her sitting there with Donna Kelsey, the queen of the NFL. She brought Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively to a game. She's been traveling all around. And then we saw Travis at her concert in Brazil, standing next to her dad, and her changing the lyrics to a song to say Karma is the guy on the Chiefs. I love that video of when that happened, of Taylor Swift's dad like grabbing Travis and going, "Oh, she's talking about you." And he was like just so happy. So their relationship is awesome. Her business management has been wild and a spectacle to see throughout the year. So there you have it. Number one, Taylor Swift, the biggest story of 2023. So there you have it. That's my list. The 23 things that made this year possible. I think we hit all the high points. I did a lot of the research. I tried to kind of balance politics and entertainment and stories and news and all the kind of things. Sports is definitely a big one too. So what do you think of my list? Did I get it right? Did I get it wrong? What did I leave out? I'm sure there's tons of things that I left out, but I thought, for me personally at least, these were the 23 things that made the year what it was. Thank you so much for joining me on another wonderful year of Friday Coffee Talks. I really, really appreciate you all tuning in. I am still having fun making this show, and I will continue to. So thanks for joining me. I'll catch you in a couple weeks.